So it looks like we've had another one of these shootings to deal with in Santa Fe, Texas now. Another jackass goes off and shoots 10 people dead and countless others wounded. And you have a police chief that's not even part of that district weighing in. None other than Houston's Art Acevedo. What a great guy. He chose to take to Twitter and basically weigh in on the gun debate and give his thoughts and perspective on what he thought was a good idea.
Yeah, the Twitter itself was pretty interesting because he acknowledged the fact that people are going to have feelings about this. But he clearly said he didn't care.
More or less.
Does not care what your feelings are. I think the quote verbatim is, "I want you to know I've hit rock bottom and I'm not interested in your views as it pertains to this issue."
Right. So it's lost on me at what point a police chief can decide what the Constitution says and what it doesn't. I didn't think that was his job. I find it interesting that somebody that was appointed by a mayor can just go in and interpret law however he sees fit. I mean, that's essentially what he's telling you. I mean, by his very nature of his statement, he says, I see it this way. I don't give a damn what you think, and I'm going to do something about it.
I can probably tell you that he gets a pass because he used the word pragmatic.
Yeah, and the thing also too to keep in mind, this is nothing new for this guy. He has a long checkered history. He's even been criticized by former leaders of their concern of his ability to lead and his judgment.
Oh yeah.
So so this is may come to surprise to some, but people that have been following his career know that this is just everyday normal for Art.
Well, going all the way back to the California Highway Patrol, let's look at what he's done there.
Right.
He goes in, he starts his career in the policing business, as I would say. He was in internal affairs. And there's two types of guys, really, that take on internal affairs, in my opinion. You've got the people that are they're true believers in the law, right? They want to see the law followed to the nth degree.
Very altruistic.
Very altruistic view of the law. They want to make sure everybody's following the law. Not saying anything disparaging about those folks. That's just who they are. That's built into their nature. They're drawn to that. The other type of person that is drawn to that work is the politician. And we've seen so many politicians come out of LEO in that position. A lot of people that were previously not politicians start along those lines if they're in LEO.
Yeah, like Lee Brown, C.O. Bradford, all those guys.
Right. So it has he starts off with a very political bent to his career, in my opinion. So he's there, he's doing his thing, and he ends up having an affair with another officer, female officer. We'll go ahead and point that out. So he has this affair, and he takes Polaroids of this lady doing.
There were photos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, kept them in his glove box of his car.
Yeah, he would ride around. with them in the glove box of his car and
the
show
original
them.
spank bank.
Yeah, exactly. Back before you had the internet,
Yeah. There were Polaroids too, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, they were Polaroid, straight up Polaroid.
Yeah.
So he'd ride around and show these to various officers and friends of his, and eventually got wind back to the woman that he took the photos of, who was still she was still she was still an officer.
Right.
So this starts this big lawsuit. He gets in the middle of this. It starts this lawsuit. He's trying to run for a position inside the CHP. It was one of the chiefs. The way they're structured is a little different than other highway patrols. They had chiefs that take over certain divisions. I think there's 4 of them.
Right.
And he was vying for one of those positions. Well, this comes out, and this lawsuit cranks up, and this lady's trying to get $5 million out of him at this point. So that lawsuit struggles on, and through other means inside the CHP, he's vying for this position. They bring a disciplinary action against him. He starts this investigation into the pension fund of the CHP, where officers were retiring at a certain age. They would go past 60 to retire at a certain age so they could get another pay bump, and it would increase their pension. Mm-hmm. So again, he's going to stick his nose in the officer's business, which might have been legit. But anytime you do that, you should expect some repercussions.
Well, it shows pattern with him. We're establishing his pattern. We're seeing this coming out early now.
Exactly. Yeah. He's started down this road of, I'm going to be the advocate for the unadvocable. You know what I mean? It's I'm going to be the advocate for the little man, or at least that's what he's trying to set himself up as in his political career. I think that's where he starts with this.
I mean, he always seems to be at odds with whatever police union he seems to be in close proximity
You're right.
to.
He is. Not just the police union, but the management structure of who employs him. Mm-hmm. Whether it's city managers, mayors, councilmen, whoever it is.
I'm going to do what I want.
Pretty much.
That's one thing that you'll notice about him as we go through this and we look at this. You'll see that, one, he doesn't listen to the people above him, and two, he doesn't respect the people below him.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He treats them like garbage. And that tells me one thing about this guy. He's out for himself. He fits, like you were talking about, Ken, this megalomaniac.
Yeah.
He's very self-serving. It's almost to a degree of sociopathic behavior. It's the start. I'm not saying sociopathic in the sense of the guy's a mass murderer, but you can be sociopathic, to a degree,
and not
be
kill.
exactly. You're just a self-serving jerk.
Right.
I would probably say that's probably a pretty close assessment based on the definition of a sociopath.
Right.
No doubt. Well, it's funny because we're talking about this pension case in California. He walks away with $995,000
right
on a judgment.
I noticed that they came back and said in the judgment that neither side admitted fault on that, though.
Right.
I noticed that.
Right.
So I found that interesting that everybody said, okay, basically what that tells me is just give me the money.
Yeah, that was a huge score. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Well, and it tells you to what he's thinking of. In other words, if it was important to him, if he was this altruistic person that we were talking about, the money wouldn't have mattered to him at that point. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He would have went after what was right.
Yeah.
That gives me another insight into this guy. In my opinion.
If you're gonna be the knight on the white horse, then stay the knight on the white horse.
Yeah. What are you selling out for?
Right.
Right. So that leads him up basically leaving CHP. Right.
He does. They basically say, get the fuck out of California.
Yeah. You're out. So he ends up in Austin.
Right.
Austin, Texas in 2007?
2007, 2008, somewhere around there. I think he landed. Yeah. That sounds right.
Right. So he lands in now this is a prime example of failing upwards. Because you would think that through the vetting process, when you saw all these red flags that were flying, because this guy was flying red flags all along, just the fact alone that there was an employee that had a charge against him, and the fact that the evidence comes out that he had photographs of her in the glove box of a car, you would think that would disqualify you from any leadership position anyway.
Right.
But those city managers in Austin, oh my God, they're
tagged.
A different animal.
He was tagged with sexual harassment charges. I mean, that's what he was tagged with in this, or being a sexual harassment in the workplace. That's what that was tagged as.
Right.
So why would you then turn around as Austin, other than you're just looking for an edgy guy that you can stick in there? You know what I mean? That would be typical of Austin politics, to stick somebody in there that, they're edgy. Let's get them.
I can't remember the name of the police chief before Acevedo got in there.
I was trying to figure out.
But Austin had quite a reputation of having really shitty cops.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just like a brute squad, and it was one of those places where you didn't want to get a ticket. You didn't want to say anything. These guys would stomp your ass in the middle of the street.
They didn't screw around.
They didn't mess around. Yeah,
I had a couple of guys in my old unit, in my first unit, that were Austin PD guys, and this I was talking to them after Acevedo had been put in that position there, and I remember him telling me that they were going through a major overhaul of the police practices and hell, there are even vetting processes.
Right.
And he didn't go so far as to say, here's the reason why. But, hindsight being 2020, now seeing what all was happening during that time period, it makes a lot of sense why they were just totally revamping the police department over there.
No, and you would hope that it would have been an upgrade for the city of Austin, but we're going to talk about a couple examples that didn't quite turn out so well.
Yes.
Right. Well, let's start with his command staff. I mean, he was in there for a few years and doing what he always does. you had two highly publicized incidents there.
Mm-hmm.
You had a female that was out jogging that was slammed to the ground
For jaywalking.
That's
unbelievable.
She had committed a misdemeanor. And I think they ended up trying to say she was resisting. She had earbuds in. She couldn't hear. This goes back and forth as to why this actually happened between the law enforcement and her. But Acevedo does something that most law enforcement chiefs won't do. He steps out and he makes a judgment call on what happened.
Probably after he had probably been told to stand down.
Yeah, well, and then he made a statement that was just completely bizarre.
Yeah.
It was in the midst of other departments having rape charges and sexual abuse charges against them.
So he became frustrated on camera, from what I understand.
Right.
He was frustrated with the questioning.
Yeah.
So there was another department somewhere in the area that had officers that were accused of rape, and he was being questioned by the media, and he finally just blurts out. He just says, "Well, and I'm going to paraphrase this. We could have at least we didn't rape her." Is basically what he said.
Yeah, exactly how he said it. Sexual abuse in other cities made his officers look good by comparison.
There you go.
Right.
And I was like, what?
What a way to whitewash that.
What?
Yeah.
I was like, first of all,
Basically, he said,
yeah.
You feel lucky we didn't rape her.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this is
Bizarre, man.
crazy.
So again,
Yeah.
this gives you another insight into this
Sure.
guy's psyche. Always with the
Well,
sex. Always. What
coming-
is it with you?
Coming from a guy that was sharing photographs of a
Yeah.
person he was having a relationship with, yeah, I'm kind of surprised you didn't pictures of her. I mean, geez, this guy's
Well, you
something
never
else,
know.
man. He's something else.
So it's always kind of this. That's his first little edgy incident that he had in Austin. The next one was you had a 17-year-old naked man that approached an officer. There was a confrontation. Obviously, I don't know the whole full context.
He
of this
ran
'cause
up on him because I watched the video.
Okay, so he runs up on. I'll let you tell this. He runs up on him.
So in a nutshell, he basically when the officer gives him a command to basically lay down on the ground, and the guy did not respond to any of his commands. So at one point, or at some point, the naked assailant goes off of the video cam, and so now you can't see anything, but you hear shots fired.
Okay.
And then in this video, they show a perspective, another vantage point of a neighbor in the area who basically begins filming the incident. Now, by the time they start filming, the incident's already passed. It's just now one officer standing over the assailant, telling him to breathe, because he's already. I think there was like 2 or 3 shots that I heard in the video. Then other patrol cars begin to arrive, and then the video just kind of goes
Fades
off.
out from
but
there.
yeah, but the Acevedo in his assessment of the situation basically says, he says that if you have a naked, unarmed assailant approaching you, and the first thing that your first course of action is to pull a gun, then maybe you need to seek another a line of employment, which I'm pretty sure that city leaders at some point would not want him to be making assessments like that.
Michael Orr clearly spoke out against that.
Right.
Yeah, he also on another, not that same incident, but another incident, he was fined 5 days' pay.
Yeah, they did. They docked him for 5 days
for disobeying orders, and he was leaking or talking about things during an investigation involving other officers in public forum.
Now, while we might agree with this assessment, which you probably, it might not be the best route to go to shoot the guy. I can agree with that.
Sure.
I can see the point. But as a police chief, that's not your
No.
job to step forward
Second
and do that.
guess on a public platform.
Right in the front of the media. Yet again, you basically... How are your officers going to trust you or respect you after you do something like that? Again, you don't have to agree with the incident, but you just have to sit back. The correct thing to do would be to sit back and say, we're looking into it.
It's just a cannibalistic society from that point.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
so it's another example, again, of his inability to make a good decision.
Right.
And to follow orders. Okay, that again, he's showing these traits. So we're establishing a pattern with this guy here.
Right.
So, and he's had several other incidences in the city of Austin, actually more than numerous to discuss, but I think his biggest mistake I thought was how he was handling campus carry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He had made he was testifying before state senate, and they were talking about a woman being able to protect herself with a firearm against rape.
Yes. I remember
So
the
he
statement.
turns around and says, "Well," he says, "that's something counseling can take care of."
I would rather see her get counseling than for her to shoot somebody.
Right. And so that was the statement that he made. Now, I will say I've listened to the statement many, many times. I believe it was spun out of context to make it more sensationalized, because you have to listen to what he said. I'm not agreeing with what he said or how he said it. I'm more interested in why he would say that. And why he would say that was because he was promoting a program that he was spearheading.
Yeah, and he already had his own agenda.
Yeah, he already had an agenda. And so this would have given the citizen their God-given right, their constitutional given right, and the state legislator given right to protect yourselves. You would then, he's circumventing that, saying, no, those rights don't count. I'll
tell you what you can do. Yeah.
And so that really didn't play well for him. I will say it was spun the other way, and I don't agree with how it was spun, but he still said it. He also made a statement about open carry. He was talking about open carry. He goes, well, Texas has come so far. If you pass open carry, it's just going to be the wild, wild west. People will be shooting each other on the streets. And, the only people shooting people on the street are pissed off liberals.
Yeah.
I mean,
that and
seriously.
people in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at what goes on in Texas as far as responsible firearm, because I think we set the standard for responsible firearm ownership.
Sure.
And because we respect those rights, and that makes us Texas, okay? And to have this California guy come in, okay, first of all, personally, I think you should be from Texas in order to be police chief here.
There
That's
you
just
go.
this is the way I am, because we are definitely a state of mind. We are definitely the rugged individual state where we stand on our own, protect our own, take care of our own. The last thing we need is somebody with watered down ideals rolling up into our streets telling us, one, how we're going to protect ourselves,
I would agree with that.
how our children are going to be protected on campus, and how we're going to conduct our lives under his control.
Changing a mindset through just one interaction.
Well, and how he does it through dictatorial powers. It's just, I'm going to come in and dictate to you what we're going to do.
Sure.
And that, there again, goes back to that mindset that we're trying to establish here that's completely incompatible with what he's doing.
So what he does is he gets embroiled, or he gets entangled with people that are trying to stop his agenda. And it's a continual fight. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the city of Houston, because right now he's in basically, I would call, friendly territory, because it is a sanctuary city.
Sure.
And he's very outspoken about how sanctuary cities should be managed.
Right.
Since he got here, it seems like the social justice thing has picked up 10 notches since he's
time.
been here.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree.
With him,
I'd agree.
stuff coming out of his mouth.
Yeah,
with
from
that.
his mouth, because he's in a complicit environment.
Sure.
And so, his whole thing on the sanctuary city, where he basically is going to disobey law, and he's going to interpret the law.
Sure.
Then he's going to voice what he thinks the law is, and then he's not going to protect what he's told to do. So this should be fair warning to anybody in Harris County, the city of Houston, that this guy is clearly not interested in being a police chief.
Right.
Okay? He can see where he's taking on a political platform. And I think you and I were talking earlier about what are his next steps, because we're looking at a guy that got kicked out of CHP, came to the city of Austin, and honestly, he acts like he's promoted to the city of Houston. You got to know they were just sick and tired of his shit. They were waiting for him to leave.
Oh, yeah.
He left. So now he's failing up the ladder. He's failing up into the fourth largest city in the United States, police chief.
Exactly.
So as a typical politician, he's going to fail into politics now.
Sure.
Because that's a natural route for people like that. I guarantee, when you sit there and you look at him, what does he really know about law enforcement?
Right. Nothing.
What does he really know?
No, nothing.
What has he proven that he knows about law enforcement? He continually steps out of jurisdiction on his commentary. He aligns himself up with people that protest police officers.
Right.
BLM. Yeah, the
Um,
BLM. I mean, I'm like, really, dude? I mean, I understand if you have an outreach and you're trying to win them over.
Sure.
But my question to you is, where do you stand up for the citizens that do abide by laws?
Right.
Where do you stand up for people that need the help that they need from bad guys that get out of jail, commit crimes. Well, we have MS-13. Look at what we got going on now. We got gangs running crazy down here. What are we going to do about that? What's he doing about that?
You know, you don't ever hear the program he's made to stop that. You just hear the tweet of, wow, the NRA and its people are basically a bunch of losers.
See,
I mean, that's what you take away from it.
So,
not that I'm enforcing the law,
Yeah.
that the law abiding are the problem.
So that's an interesting departure for this conversation, because there's a real famous exchange between him and Dana Lash.
Right.
Yes.
And what I think is really funny about that is she just schooled him.
Oh.
I mean, literally schooled him on. I mean, he basically is taking a teenage view on the NRA.
Right.
Clearly, if he was a law enforcement officer, he would understand what the NRA does for law enforcement.
Right.
Some of his comments in the tweet regarding
my
that exchange,
God.
I was
Well, I
like,
find it's
I
interesting-
can't believe that you even put that in text.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, it's forever. I mean, we know the internet's forever. But what I find interesting about the Dana Lash thing is how he comes back at her. He doesn't give her the opportunity to go back and forth. He just puts it in a tweet and says, "There it is."
Sure.
You know, there's no exchange of idea there, really.
Well, you got to wonder where his disdain and disrespect for women come into play with that, because that's
Yeah,
clearly
very good point. Yeah,
clearly an
yeah.
example of a guy that takes up advocate causes.
I wonder if that was intimidating for him to have Dana Lash.
I almost
I'm just going to
guarantee
say it, a hot woman,
a smart,
a
intelligent woman
smart hot woman coming at him like
actually went at him with facts.
that. Oh yeah,
I mean, because she hit him hard.
beat
And
him
she
over
hit
the head with it.
Because, you know, you got to realize what NRA donates. NRA donates training. They donate time. They donate
Vest,
money.
body armor,
Yeah.
funds for training, all that stuff.
Wounded and deceased officers.
Yeah.
All these things that the NRA supports and helps. And here you've got a guy in the fourth largest city in probably one of the largest firearms states in the union.
Yeah.
You know, now we are an independent republic down here, and we are participating in the union, but that's a different story.
This is kind of a small wordsmith thing, but the NRA facilitates these things as well. They go beyond supporting something. They make sure that shit happens.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing that Acevedo does is he's just giving lip service to people that are in agreement with where his positions are. So I just wanted to add that.
Right.
No, sure. I mean, you know, because the guy clearly doesn't understand what the First Amendment is. He doesn't understand what the Second Amendment is.
Yes.
And recently, his
Doesn't-
Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, he doesn't understand the Fourth Amendment as well. And so when you look at him, you know, and you take him for what he is, okay? He is, one, he victimizes women. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, he has no respect for them. We've already seen that with what he's done with the female employee / officer / companion, confidant, sexual partner, whatever you want
Right.
to call her.
He had an affair with her. He cheated
had an
on
affair,
his wife.
He cheated on his
Let's
wife.
Let's get
right.
that straight.
So he had that.
And
Go ahead.
the fact that he got caught and
Yeah.
now he's just more careful nowadays.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's how I would say he hasn't fallen far from his normal
No.
modus operandi.
Not one
He's
bit.
just more careful.
Right.
So,
Then his exchange with Dana Lash and how he treated her.
Yeah.
Okay, and then now after this whole Santa Fe thing, where he gets in the street and he marches with people basically protesting, say we want your guns. The NRA has blood on their hands. It just clearly tells you that his alignment is off. I mean, there's no way to fix that wiring.
No.
This guy is hardwired to an agenda.
Well, it is, and he's cast that way
Yeah.
because, he's thinking another 5 years and I can start my political career. I guarantee you that's the mindset. Now, whether that's going to be a state run or a run for Congress or
Right.
Senate, we don't know yet. We obviously know what platform he's going to run on.
I can say that because of where he's positioned now,
Yeah.
that if he plans on if he has any political aspirations, it's going to happen here. It's
Sure.
going to happen in Texas.
Oh, definitely.
It has to, because he's not been elected to any position.
Right.
And any position he's been up for review, for promotion, he's failed at. So let's keep that in place. So I want to give him something to remember here, okay? So Art, just remember this. What you continually fail to understand is that police chiefs don't make laws. Okay? They serve the people. They're here to protect the public safety. Okay? It's not your job to determine what laws you're going to follow and what laws you're not going to follow. The amendments to the Constitution are provisions that guarantee and protect the rights of U.S. citizens. Okay? They protect the Republic against tyrannical, power-hungry politicians like maybe yourself okay, who like to reserve the right to dictate what is right and what is wrong to the citizens of this state and the country.